Confronting the disloyalty of my closest friend. My heartfelt story. I always believed that true friendship was built on trust, loyalty, and unwavering support. For years, I carried that belief in my heart, until life showed me just how fragile those bonds could be. My best friend was more than just a friend to me. She was my sister in every way but blood. We shared secrets, dreams, laughter, and even pain. When the world turned its back on me, she was the one I thought would never leave my side. But betrayal doesn't always come from enemies. Sometimes, it comes from the very people you love the most. It started with little things. The hushed phone calls, the excuses that didn't add up, the sudden distance. I brushed it off, convincing myself that maybe I was just overthinking. After all, why would my best friend ever betray me? Then one evening, I saw a message on her phone. My name was in it. My private struggles, my deepest confessions, the very things I had whispered to her in trust, were being used as entertainment in another group. They laughed at me, mocked me. Stories I shared through tears were now jokes at my expense. My heart sank. I couldn't breathe. It felt as though the ground beneath me had disappeared. And in that moment, the question that haunted me was simple. How could someone I loved so much be so disloyal? When I finally confronted her, she didn't deny it. She didn't even apologize. Instead, she shrugged and said, "It wasn't that deep. We were just joking around. But to me, it was that deep. It cut through me in ways she could never understand. Because trust, once broken, can never truly be restored." I walked away that day, not just from her, but from the version of myself that tolerated disloyalty in the name of love and friendship. Losing her hurt, but holding on to her lies would have destroyed me completely. And now, I ask you, what would you have done in my place? Would you forgive such betrayal? Or would you walk away forever? Because sometimes, the hardest battles are not against strangers, but against the people who once held our hearts in their hands. So to anyone listening right now, remember this: your peace, your dignity, and your self-worth are worth more than any friendship built on disloyalty. Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched you in any way, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more heartfelt stories, and share your own experiences in the comments below. You never know who your words might inspire. I never thought I'd say this out loud, but here I am, ready to make a confession. One that has haunted me for years. And once you hear it, it might haunt you too. It started on a night that seemed so ordinary. The kind of night where nothing felt unusual. The world was quiet. But inside me, a storm was brewing. For years, I lived with a secret so heavy, I could barely sleep. A secret that shaped who I became and destroyed who I once was. I betrayed someone who trusted me more than anyone else in this world. Not with lies, not with words, but with silence. Sometimes silence is the loudest form of betrayal. I stood by and watched a person I loved fall apart. They begged for answers, for truth, for loyalty. But I gave them nothing. And do you know what the worst part is? They died never knowing the truth. They carried their questions, their pain, all the way to the grave. Because of me. That silence, that moment, still wakes me up at night. It replays over and over in my mind like a nightmare I can't escape. And now, years later, I wonder, if I had spoken up, if I had been braver, would things have ended differently? The guilt is unbearable. It clings to me like a shadow I cannot shake. I wear a smile by day, but at night, the darkness knows my name. So here's my confession. I was a coward. I chose silence over truth. And in doing so, I destroyed the very person I loved the most. Now I ask you this. Have you ever carried a secret so dark, so heavy, that even years later it still keeps you awake at night? Because once you carry a burden like that, it never leaves you. It never forgives you. And it will haunt you forever. Thank you for listening to my confession. If this story gripped you, if it made you stop and think about your own life, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Because sometimes speaking out is the only way to silence the demons within. They took my inheritance and called it a family project #betrayal. I never thought my own blood would betray me this way. When my father passed away, he left behind something that wasn't just money. It was his legacy. A house, some savings, and a piece of land that had been in our family for generations. He made it clear in his will that it was to come to me, the youngest of 3, because he knew I would protect it. But the day after the funeral, when grief still weighed heavy in my chest, my siblings called a family meeting. They sat me down with fake smiles, and what they told me shattered everything I believed about family. They said, "We've decided to use the inheritance for a family project, something that benefits us all." A family project? That was their excuse. My father's last wish, my inheritance, turned into a group investment that I had no say in. They told me it was for unity, that I shouldn't be selfish. But deep down, I knew the truth. It wasn't about unity. It was about greed. They bought cars. They went on vacations. They lived lavishly while I stood there empty-handed, holding on to nothing but betrayal. Every time I asked about it, they silenced me with guilt, saying, "Dad would have wanted us to share." Number. My father wanted me to have it. He trusted me to carry his legacy, and they stole it. Nights turned sleepless. Days felt like a war inside my chest. I wasn't just mourning my father anymore. I was mourning the family I thought I had. Because tell me, what kind of family steals from one of their own and dares to call it love? I realized then that sometimes the deepest wounds don't come from strangers. They come from the people who share your blood. So now I ask you, what would you do if the very people you trusted the most took away the last gift your parent ever left you? Would you forgive them, or would you fight for what's rightfully yours? Because me, I'm still torn. Part of me wants justice, and another part of me still aches for the family I lost the moment they chose betrayal over love. Family. A word so sacred, yet so easily broken. Thank you for listening to my story. If this touched you, share your thoughts in the comments. I want to know, have you ever faced betrayal from the people you trusted most? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because here, we tell the stories others are too afraid to speak. I joined my stepson in trouble after catching him. A real infidelity tale. I never thought the day would come when I'd be standing face to face with a secret so dangerous. It could destroy everything. It started one evening when I returned home earlier than expected. The house was quiet. Too quiet. My husband wasn't home yet, but my 20-year-old stepson was. At first, I thought nothing of it. But then I noticed something strange. Muffled voices, laughter, and then a gasp. I followed the sound, my heart pounding with every step. When I opened that door, I caught my stepson. Red-handed. He wasn't alone. He was with a married woman, a woman I knew, a woman who shouldn't have been there. I froze, torn between anger and disbelief. I should have shouted. I should have dragged her out of that room. But instead, I was caught in a moment of weakness because that woman wasn't just anyone. She was my husband's mistress. Yes, the same woman who had been destroying my marriage was now wrapped up with my stepson. My mind spun in chaos. Should I expose her? Should I tell my husband? Or should I let my stepson bury himself in this shameful mess? But the worst part? That night, I didn't walk away. I didn't shout. I didn't confess. I closed the door and chose silence. From that moment, I joined my stepson in his secret. His trouble became mine. We were bound together by something dark, something forbidden, something that could tear our entire family apart. Every dinner after that felt like a performance. My husband smiled, oblivious, while across the table I locked eyes with my stepson, both of us hiding the same secret. But here's the truth. Secrets like these don't stay buried forever. And when they rise to the surface, they destroy everything in their path. Now I find myself trapped in a storm of betrayal, guilt, and fear. Did I make the right choice by protecting him? Or did I just become as guilty as the ones I swore I'd never forgive? Tell me, if you were in my shoes, what would you have done? Would you have spoken up or stayed silent like I did? This is my story, a story of betrayal, a story of silence, and a story of the price we pay when we protect the wrong people. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because more real stories are coming, and you won't want to miss what happens next. My wife and I had been married for 7 years. 7 years of what I thought was trust, love, and partnership. But one night, everything I believed in shattered. It started with small signs. The late-night texts she quickly hid when I walked into the room. The sudden work meetings that always seemed to happen after dinner. And the way her eyes no longer met mine the way they used to. I wanted to believe I was imagining things. I wanted to believe my wife, the woman I vowed to share my life with, could never betray me. But then came that night. I woke up at 2 a.m. and noticed she wasn't beside me. The bed was cold. I walked through the house, but she was gone. Her car keys were missing, her phone was gone, and my heart felt like it had been ripped out of my chest. So I waited. I sat in the dark living room, staring at the front door, fighting the storm of emotions boiling inside me. Around 4 a.m, I heard it. The sound of her car pulling into the driveway. She tiptoed inside, heels in her hand, trying to be quiet, as if I wouldn't notice. Our eyes met, and for the first time, she didn't even bother to lie. She just froze, guilt written all over her face. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I didn't beg. I simply stood up, walked past her, and locked myself in the bedroom. The next morning, I made my decision. While she was at work, I went to the hardware store, bought new locks, and replaced every single one of them. Front door, back door, garage door. Every entry point to the house changed. By the time she came back home that evening, suitcase in hand, like nothing had happened, she found herself standing outside her own house. She knocked, she begged, she cried. But I didn't open the door. I just watched her from the window, the same way she had been sneaking out to meet her lover while I slept alone. That was the moment I realized something powerful. I deserved better. I deserved peace. And no amount of lies, no amount of tears was going to erase what she did to me. Now, I want to ask you, if you were in my shoes, would you have done the same? Or would you have given her another chance? Because for me, once trust is broken, there's no going back. And to everyone listening, if this story hit you hard, don't just scroll away. Make sure you like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this one. Your support means everything. And trust me, the next story will shake you even more. The day my mom revealed a family secret that shuttered us all. I always believed my family was normal. Ordinary dinners, laughter at the table, birthday parties filled with love. But one evening, all of that was shattered. It started on a quiet Sunday night. The air was heavy, the kind of silence that makes you uneasy before anything is even said. My mom sat us all down, me, my siblings, and my dad. Her hands were trembling, her lips quivered. And for the first time in my life, she couldn't look any of us in the eyes. I felt my chest tighten. I didn't know what was about to come, but something told me it wasn't good. Then, in a voice so broken it almost didn't sound like hers, she confessed. She said she'd been carrying a secret for decades, a secret she had buried so deep that even my dad didn't know. My heart pounded as she spoke the words that flipped my world upside down. She told us that the man I had called Dad my entire life was not my biological father. I froze. The room froze. Time itself seemed to stop. I looked at my dad, the man who had raised me, taught me to ride a bike, held me when I cried. His face was pale, his eyes wide. And then, tears. He whispered, "What are you saying?" But my mom, she couldn't stop now. She went on to explain that years ago, before they were married, she had a relationship. A brief one. And from that, I was born. My legs went weak. My siblings stared at me in shock. I didn't know whether to cry, scream, or run out of the house. The man I loved, the man I thought I belonged to, suddenly felt like a stranger. But then, something happened that shattered me even more. My dad, my real dad in every way but blood, stood up, walked toward me, and pulled me into his arms. Through tears, he said, "You are my child." Nothing changes that. And in that moment, I realized something powerful. Sometimes, family isn't about blood. It's about love, sacrifice, and the bonds we choose to keep. But that night still left scars. The truth ripped through us like a storm. Trust was broken. And even though love remained, the silence after that revelation has never truly gone away. So I have to ask you, if you discovered that the person you've always called your parent wasn't really your blood, would you forgive and hold on to love? Or would you walk away from the lie? Because sometimes, the truth we beg for is the very thing that destroys us. Thank you for listening to my story. If this touched you, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. And let me know in the comments. What would you have done if you were in my shoes?